Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hello, everyone. Today we will be speaking with Ale Ballesteros. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Woo! And she is a 25-year-old in-person and online trainer for lifestyle and bikini competitors whose struggles with bullying and financial hardships growing up led her to her passion for fitness in the gym, which became her sanctuary. And she saw fitness as an opportunity to exercise discipline and hard work to use her body as a vehicle to become a somebody. And she did her first show in 2018, winning open and novice in bikini and placing second in both open and novice for figure. And she fell in love with the finesse of bikini and turned to her coach, Ryan Hinton, who's actually been on the show in Coaches Week, if you guys haven't heard it yet. And she sent him photos. He said he could have her ready for university in 2.5 weeks. She hit the national circuit there. And then 2 months later at her third national show, North Americans, she turned pro, and she is prepping for her pro debut right now with goals of qualifying for the Olympia. And this athlete, like I said, has faced so many obstacles and adversity in her life, but now she is happier than ever, and I'm so happy to have her on. So how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
That
was an awesome intro. I'm like smiling so hard right now. Probably blushing too.
I love it. That's awesome. I was like so excited and appreciative of just like knowing and seeing your background and your story, because obviously that makes my life easier when I put those things together. And yeah, I appreciate that. And of course, we have so much to talk about today, and I'm very excited about that because, you know, the intro is a good summary, but there's so many parts and pieces of that I really want to dissect with you. But given you're a big fan of this podcast, you know I have to ask you, what do you do, or a ritual? Like, what kind of ritual do you have right before your heel hits the stage?
So my ritual starts before when I'm backstage. I'm listening to YouTube videos of just motivation and how to center yourself and how to stay calm. Then once we're lining up to get on stage, I dance to whatever music's playing. It doesn't matter what it is, just try to dance as silly as I can and get all the jitters out of me and get the girls around me involved if possible. It just makes it a lot more fun. And right before my heel hits the stage, I'm already posing because the judges are always looking at you as soon as you start lining up. I look at the judges only. I try not to look at the crowd or the girl that's posing before me or anything. I'm looking at the judges, and I tell myself I'm a performer and it's showtime. And that's it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have like like when you say to yourself, like, I'm a performer, does that put you in like a different like state? Like, does that change your energy?
Yes. Oh my God. It's like what I imagine it's like for, you know, like artists or singers or musicians. You have to get in the role. You have to visualize yourself, get into your alter ego, and just channel that persona and let that come out on stage.
I love that. And every time like I hear people talk about that or like what they do before, I always think about rock stars, because like there's like obviously there's a lot of big pop stars and hip hop artists and things that we usually think of, right? Like especially in the female empowerment roles. But like, I like to think of rock stars, like they have such a persona that you just know, like you can imagine it from when you hear their name. Like if you hear Freddie Mercury, if you hear Steven Tyler,
oh my God, for real.
For me, it's like, and for other people who know those names, it's like you think of how they act, you think of their movements, you think of the way they carry themselves. You're not thinking about
their energy.
Yes, exactly. So like you get to become that I guess what's the word I'm looking for? persona, that is the word, on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to craft your own, really.
For sure. And yeah, it's really like you have to tell yourself everyone is here to watch me. Even if they're not, even if you have no fans in the audience, you have to tell yourself everyone's here to watch me and I'm here to shine. And it's my time, and everything that I've worked for to this point is for right now. And just clear your mind and walk on stage.
I love that. That's awesome. Although I will say, if I was backstage with you and you tried to make me dance with you, I'd be like, girl, please, please
What?
don't make me do that.
Everyone's usually like that, and usually the guy that kind of helps you
Hmm.
like lines you up and stuff, they're looking at me like it's gonna be okay, like
I know. I always love it
like
when
they
they
look at me
say
a
that.
little weird.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, okay, I want to talk to you like about your story and your background, but
Mm-hmm.
before we do, there was something you wrote in for those of you listening, whenever I say like wrote in the form, I'm talking about this form I send the athletes before they come on to the show. It helps me to like see things they want to talk about, don't want to talk about, that kind of stuff. But in the form you filled out, you shared your life
Mm-hmm.
mission, and I thought it was really, really cool, but I also thought it would sound
Mm-hmm.
better if you shared that here rather than me, summarize it. So could
Mm-hmm.
you could you share that, because I feel like it's very reminiscent of different parts of your journey.
So my mission right now is to use my IFBB Pro platform to help people that, well, especially young people, children, who are the future leaders of our country, that health is the number one priority in each and every one of our lives. And no matter what background we may come from, if we're from a humble household, if we struggle with mental illness, we all have an inner champion, and fitness can be the uh, the vehicle through which you become a champion.
That's beautiful. That is
So
just so beautiful.
my mission is to allow people to find that champion within themselves through my Instagram posts, through my upcoming YouTube channel, my online business, my in-person business, and just every person that I meet in life. I want to help them see the champion within.
Mm. That's really awesome. And I'm actually
Thank
curious,
you.
like, yeah, of course. I just find that so beautiful. And there's a lot of that I think, like I said before, comes from your story. And I definitely want to ask you about that. But you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned inner champion. Can you
Mm-hmm.
express what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for you?
So an inner champion is someone that falls on their ass over and over, but every single time gets back up and takes that fall as a lesson and learns from it and just moves forward and doesn't, they have excuses, but they don't believe any of their own excuses. They just keep moving forward. That's a champion.
Hmm. Against all odds.
Mm-hmm. No matter what happens, no matter what.
Mhm. And you've definitely faced a lot of adversity. You grew up and your
Mm-hmm.
parents didn't have a lot of money to put you into any sports, and they sacrificed a lot
Mm-hmm.
for you to go to the gym, and you were struggling with bullying, and
Mm-hmm.
that was based
Yeah.
on the size of your body, right?
Oh yeah. So since I was little, I used to get called like Chicken Little, tiny or little legs, or no butt, or like walking stick, and like things like that. But I never really, like, I knew I could change my body. I knew that wouldn't be forever. So all of that negativity that was spewing at me, I used it as a tool to motivate myself and to get myself to the gym and unleash all of that frustration on the barbells, which is what got me here. And since I was 15, since I turned old enough to get a gym membership, I just been uh, working hard in the gym. That's really all it takes. Just work hard every single day, like it's the last day of your life. Make it count in
Wow.
the gym. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like you have days where you're not working as hard as you can, or is that measuring stick more around like if you're doing the best you can?
I mean, I definitely have days where I'm like having to search for motivation, but that's the point. That's what makes bodybuilding so amazing. you do things even when you don't want to, and that in and of itself is a win for me, at least.
Totally. It's a fantastic way to build our self-efficacy as well. I always like to
Hmm.
encourage my clients that if they're struggling in an area, let's say with, life or with bodybuilding even, to challenge yourself to do something that is difficult, because the more you prove to yourself that you can do it, then the more belief you have in your ability to do those things that are difficult, or to do the
For
things you
sure.
say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's so doing things that you don't want to do is what builds confidence in yourself. And that
Hmm.
shows on stage, that confidence in getting shit done.
Yeah, it's that extra 30-second sprint, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, are you going to sprint to the line or past the line? Are you going to push through the reps, or are you going to push past the pain? Like, what's the
Yeah.
mentality behind it?
So that reminds me, so I've always been the kid that like gets sick during training and has to run and puke and come back. But those days where I had to run off from the team and I got sick and I puked and rallied, those are the most memorable days for me, where I pushed as hard as humanly possible and came back and finished the set. And that's what makes a rock star.
Totally agree with you on that. I've never been one to throw up in workouts, and I used to be like, I must not be working hard, but I know it's different for everybody. And I
Oh my gosh, for
experience, like I experience that differently, but I totally agree. There were times where I had to push myself so hard, especially in like high school with certain sports, and like trying
hmm
out for teams or anything trying out specifically. And those are the things that really stand out to me. And I think for you, having this perspective on what it's like to be bullied for your size
hmm
actually gives you an ability
hmm
to empathize with other people who are bullied for their size. And, I've been there too. I think it also gives perspective for seeing how other people bully themselves on their size. And I'm
hmm
curious if you've ever struggled with body image, or if because you always knew
hmm
you could change it, it was not a big deal to you. Like, what was your experience with body image because of that?
Well, body image is something I still struggle with to this day.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's anything that really will ever go away, but I need to treat it as seasons. And when I was younger, I didn't understand the concept of being in season or off season, since I had never been in sports or anything. So to me, the ideal was, model-esque, like skinny, tiny waist, but it wasn't sustainable because I didn't know how to build muscle. So what I was doing back then, which is not what you're supposed to do, is I was doing cardio. This is when I was like, I don't know, 14, 15. I was doing cardio for 5 hours every single day in front of the
Straight.
TV, straight, like watching the novelas with my mom. Like my parents were watching TV, the Mexican soap operas. And
Mm-hmm.
for 5 hours straight, I'd be on this little like elliptical
Dang.
thing that would help me burn calories until I freaking incinerated the machine and it stopped working. So
Mm-hmm.
it started like spilling oil everywhere. So I had to go outside and like, unleash there. And I started running and walking and doing stuff outdoors, but it was the wrong way to do it. And I got super, super skinny. This is when I knew I was an extreme person and I could
Mm-hmm.
handle, being on a diet and being rigorous and disciplined. And I loved it. But I had friends that had to pull me aside and tell me, hey, you look way too skinny. We need to feed you. And so that's kind of where I started coming back to normal. And I it was a bunch of ups and downs in high school, but I would always find my way back to the gym somehow, like through job offers or through like, oh, we're accepting a job at the front desk, you should come, they'll give you a free membership. And since I couldn't really ever afford a gym membership, that was the perfect opportunity for me to come in and establish myself and my routine and learn how to lift weights, learn from other trainers that worked there. And little by little, I just established a good knowledge base that eventually allowed me to become a trainer. And I just keep on learning every day, even today. I keep learning from other trainers, gym buddies, my boyfriend who's a trainer also, YouTube videos, books, all kinds of different sources.
Man, yeah,
So
there's a lot to be said about that journey you've been on.
yeah, yeah, it's like I was thinking about it, like there's so many things that have contributed to this journey. I don't know if I'll ever, like, if I can even cover all my bases. It's,
I know.
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna leave some things out, but I'm gonna try not to.
I hope you do, because then people can follow you and watch your YouTube videos and find out more, right? Shameless
Oh, no,
plug.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, nicely
Yes.
put.
Yes. Well, I think it's really cool too, because like like I said, I was reading your story and I was like looking into your
Mm-hmm.
page, and I think you're just such a genuine person, and these experiences.
Oh,
Yeah, seriously. And these
thank
experiences
you.
contribute, no problem, to who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and also, like I said earlier, your mission. But it seems like for you, although you struggled with body image and you were bullied for your body size, and you realized you could take
Mm-hmm.
it to extremes, and you've been
Mm-hmm.
you've been able to see those challenges you faced and learn from them, and like you said, develop that inner champion. But
Mm-hmm.
it always seems like fitness ended up being more of a safe haven and a representation of commitment for you than it was
Mm-hmm.
about your body.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's
So
true?
yeah, oh my gosh. So before this whole bodybuilding thing and shaping my body and in a way that an architect would, um I would just go to the gym to feel good, to build a butt and legs and all that. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew it made me feel good and it made me feel strong and like a champion. It just made me feel like, just not like, I would escape reality for a short moment in time, and that was all I needed to be happy. I mean, I wasn't, um I come from a humble household, but I've always had enough to eat. I've always had, a roof over my head and loving parents and two brothers, and but it was just a way to remind myself that no matter where I end up in life, if I just work on my mind and my body, I'll get somewhere. I mean, I have to land somewhere good if I just take care of myself. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. I think that's really cool. And I mean, did you ever think that, given your background, given your upbringing, I mean, it sounds like you're really grateful. Did you ever think that
Mm-hmm.
facing all of that, you'd eventually end up here competing and doing something you love and working with your dream coach, but also working your dream job as a coach, and having this boyfriend of so long? Like, did you imagine you'd get to that point coming from such humble beginnings?
No, I never, like, honestly, when I was little, I wanted to be an attorney. I just knew I
Really?
wanted to help. Yeah, I wanted to help people. I didn't know how, or I knew, like, my friends would tell me, you'd be a good teacher because you're a good listener and you're sweet, and like, yeah, but I don't know, I want more. I want something tough, something that, like, I can, like, climb something, like, just, yeah, I never, ever, ever thought I'd be a pro bodybuilder. Like, that's the last thing I would have ever imagined. But yeah, luckily everything just fell together. Yeah, it's kind of, it's crazy. Just, I just had hope. I just knew, like, I need to work on myself and I need to improve myself in any way that I can, even if I don't have as much access as, my friends did, or um, had to have a few part-time jobs during college and make ends meet and things like that. Like, I was just hopeful the whole time.
Hmm. That's really awesome. And like you talk about now how you are really committed to growing and learning, and you do that
Mhm.
through educational ways, like whether that's
Mhm.
conventional or unconventional. And
Mhm.
I'm curious because you said like you'd go to the gym, you would get a free membership, because you worked there as a front desk
Mhm.
associate, and then
Mhm.
there was an opportunity for training. But how did it evolve into personal training? Like, when did that begin?
Well, so working at the front desk at my very first at the gym where I lived across where my apartment complex was located, it was a Gold's Gym,
Mhm.
the fanciest, nicest local gym where anyone who was anyone would go there. I I was good friends with the fitness manager there who would always tell me, you should be a trainer. Why don't you become a trainer? You already look the part. You should just be a trainer. Like, just don't worry about failure. Don't worry about, like if you can do it or not, just do it. And he would also kind of prod me to also compete. But I was only 16, 17, and I didn't believe in myself enough to actually start a career that young, because personal training is a career. And to me, it just seemed like I just couldn't, I didn't have it in me. Like, it wasn't the right time. But for whatever reason, it just kept coming back to me. Like um, I, so I feel like I'm going to just kind of ramble.
Ramble on. All good.
So, I did get that opportunity at the local Gold's Gym in Laredo, Texas, where I was born and raised. But when I moved to Austin, when I got accepted into UT, the University of Texas, um, I was so depressed and so just down in the dumps because I didn't have a go-to gym anymore. And yeah, the school gym is cool. It's like it's there, but it wasn't the same energy. Like, people, like, it was just the same crowd, like students, and I wanted to see more diversity, more like different walks of life and different age groups and stuff like that. And so I went to again, I found myself at Gold's Gym, but this time on 6th Street. And I think I had like $200 in my bank account. I used that money to buy an intro pack of sessions with a personal trainer who, like, I didn't care who the trainer was. I just wanted a friend. So I bought the sessions, and that trainer, like a year later after I used those sessions, he messaged me saying, we have a front desk opening at the Gold Gym on 6th Street. Do you want to come by for an interview? And I was like, oh my God, yes, this is awesome. So I ended up working at the front desk at the 6th Street gym, and I met this boy, or I mean, my current boyfriend. I met him at the front desk. He was a trainer, and he was just the perfect example of who I wanted to become. Like, the person that just the professionalism and the undivided attention he would give to his clients and the dramatic results he can provide was what inspired me to want to become a trainer for real this time. So I asked him, how did you do it? Help me out, give me some tips. And so he let me borrow his textbook for the NASM, the National Academy of Sports and Medicine. I took the test, I passed it on the first try, and I started training 3 years ago. And that's just kind of how
Mm.
it happened. I was given opportunities, and I just jumped at them. I didn't hesitate. Well,
Yes.
yeah, the second time around. The first time I was like, no, I'm not ready. But the second time I was like, this can't be a coincidence. If I'm presented with this opportunity again, I need to take it. And so I became a trainer.
Mm.
And it was the best decision ever. It's the most rewarding job I think I could ever have.
Wow, I love that. That is so cool. And I think it's just amazing. There was a lot of amazing things that you said. I think what was especially amazing was like the opportunity knocked again, and this time you opened the door
Mm-hmm.
and you were willing to say yes to it. And
Yes.
in everything you just shared too, was that while you were at UT still, or is this
Yes.
okay?
I
Got
was
it.
still in school. I was still in school, and I mean, I was doing pretty good at that time. I had good grades and everything, but this was before I started getting really depressed and
Okay, that's
anxious.
what I
This was
was
right before
wondering.
it hit. Yeah. So once I started training pretty much full time, because personal training isn't a job that you can just leave at work because your clients are contacting you. There's a very fine line between, you know, your personal life and your work life. So it was overwhelming to say the least. And it became just, it consumed me. I would much rather be training than studying for my classes. And it was kind of like two different things just tearing me in opposite directions. Because I majored in government at UT, and that was just, compared to training, it was just so boring. I just could not I cannot fathom doing that for the rest of my life and just, you know, talking about political parties. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was interesting, but not
Of
what I
course.
want to do for the rest of my life. So it was that struggle between what am I doing, that like, where is this degree going to take me, even though like I don't care where it takes me. I don't want to do anything in that field. I want to be a trainer. And so it just kind of, my mind wasn't in the right places.
Mhm.
And I started to get really anxious and depressed. And I really just dreaded the day. Like, oh my God, I have so much to do. I don't want to do any of it. And it would just, it kept piling up. And yeah, I found myself in horrible depression. And I mean, I'm doing a lot better now for sure. But it was a very dark period of my life.
Mhm. It sounds like, in that time you were coming to terms with this version of yourself you always thought you would be, and then this version of
Mm-hmm.
yourself that actually felt like the true, genuine you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was like
Yeah,
this, maybe this grieving process of, okay, like, I don't think I want to do what I thought I wanted to do
that's
anymore.
exactly what it was. Yeah, I was grieving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
left my whole life in Laredo. I left my parents and my family, and I'm broke as a joke, and I'm struggling to be a trainer, but I love training, and I don't want to go to school anymore. And I mean, I'm still in the process of finishing school, by the way.
Okay.
But I'm definitely, I mean, the way that the world has turned out lately, government has become so much more interesting, and I want to go back so bad.
That's
For
funny you
real.
say that. Most people are like, get me out of this.
Yeah. No, I want to go back to school. Like, I've actually been telling my boyfriend, his name's Matt. I've been telling Matt, "Oh, I can't wait I want to go back. I miss learning about the world." And really, I just needed a little break from school. And I'm glad I took it. And I'm glad that things ended up the way they are now.
Mm,
It was all for a
yes.
reason. Yeah.
Yes, it always is, isn't it? And even
Hmm.
if it's not, we tend to find a reason.
For sure. Yeah. It's like a puzzle. At first, it doesn't make sense. And then you look at it and you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. And you had mentioned too, that before someone said like, oh, you should compete, but you were like 16, 17 years old. It was something you just were
Hmm.
fantasizing about.
Hmm.
At what point did you decide, okay, let's compete, let's do this, let's see what it's like?
Hmm. Oh my God. So it was actually someone I met at the gym on 6th Street in Austin. This girl, her name's Mika Añora. I hope she's listening to this. She was just, when I met her, so she was a trainer. She was going to school. She wanted to be like a doctor. She's in school for that now. She was also a bodybuilder. And I was like, Oh my God, you are the most amazing person I've ever met. You're a great representative for the sport of bodybuilding. Sign me up. I want to be just like you. She
Mm.
was so disciplined, just so professional with her clients, and just such a great person to aspire to be like. So she's what motivated me to start looking into it and be like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is amazing. I want to be on stage. I want to show off my hard work. I want to be the symbol of hard work and inspire others, just like Mika inspired me. That's who I want to be. And that's how it started. So one day I was like, oh my God, Mika, your hair's so pretty. Where did you get it done? And she was like, oh, this guy, Mickey Vo, he's the best. And so I was like, well, um, I want to have her hair. And, like she was like my little role model. So I went to this hairstylist, and this hairstylist who I still go to, Mickey Vo, he sponsors me, by the way, now.
Aw.
I went to him like about 4 years ago for the first time. And I was like, hey, I'm Mika's friend. Do you like cut long hair or whatever? And he's like, yes, oh my gosh, you're like my little sister now, welcome to the club.
Aw.
Take a seat, I'll treat you like VIP because you're Mika's friend. And I was like, oh, okay. So we instantly became best friends. Like, he's the most amazing
Wow.
hairstylist in Austin, Texas. Mickey Vo, everyone. And he told me, you have the build to be a bodybuilder. You can totally do it. And I was like, Mickey, come on. And he was like, for real, you should follow this girl. Her name's Lauren Floodquist. She just won 2 shows overall back to back. She's taking the world by storm. You need to follow her. So I looked at her page and I followed her, and I kept up with her for like a year. I was just like liking her posts, and I saw she was very religious and close to God and everything, which I liked. And so one day, this girl, I was already training for almost a year. I kept working on myself because I knew I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I just didn't know when. Like, I just didn't feel quite ready until I was praying one day. I was on the treadmill. I was praying to God, like, please, God, let 2018 be my year.
Mm.
Just let it be the year that I finally go after my dreams and I stop caring about what people think. And I just, like, let this be my year. And just as I finished that little prayer, I was scrolling through my Instagram, and this girl, Lauren, announced free mentorship giveaway. A
Wow.
girl, whoever writes me an essay telling me why you should be chosen for this opportunity, I will let you know who the winner is 1 week from now. Get to work, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to work. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I didn't even tell Matt. I was writing an essay telling her my life story, why I deserve this, why I want to be under her wing. And yeah, she ended up choosing me. Like, she ended up messaging me back right away saying like, wow, oh my God, this is incredible. um I already choose you, but I can't announce till next week. So we're gonna have to, like, I said this was gonna be like, I don't want this to be biased. And she was like, maybe I'm gonna do a raffle, but I'm gonna put your name on all of the tickets and then just be like, oh, Alejandra. Like, but she was like, no, I can't do that. I'm just gonna tell people straight up, like, look, this girl blew me away. I'm gonna pick her and you guys are gonna love her, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, the rest was history. We ended up, this mentorship was going to be for like maybe 3 days out of the week, or like work out with me 3 days out of the week. But we ended up training together 6 days a week for
Wow.
almost,
In
yeah, like it
person?
became in person. Yeah. Because she lives in Austin too. And
Oh.
she took me under her wing. She taught me how to pose, how to present myself in front of the judges, like how the whole system worked. She introduced me to her team called Sick Made with David Shockterly. who recently passed away. Um, and yeah, he was like this Texas bodybuilding legend, and he taught me a lot of the things that I continued to practice leading up to nationals. So I trained with Dave and with Lauren for about maybe 6 months leading into my first show, the Adela Garcia. And Dave talked me into doing figure as well because he thought I had the build for it. He said, your clavicle structure is perfect for figure. You would do really well. Just do both. So I was like, well, I'm still in school. I'm training full time. I'm about to do 2 classes. Screw it. Let's do it. And I've always just kind of had that mentality, like, screw it, let's do it. And so I prep for figure and for bikini, which was so crazy. Like, luckily, figure is a little bit more, it's not as complex in the posing. Like, it's just the quarter turns, you know, like you get to have some sass, like walking into your poses. It was easy to pick up. And one of the Texas judges, she also judges the national shows. Her name's Sheila Brown, taught me how to pose for figure in 5 minutes. Like, she taught me how to pull out my lats in only 5 minutes. She did this little trick on my back, and that's all I needed. Like, I learned how to do that one day before the show, and I went and I got second place in figure, first in bikini. And that to me was the judges telling me, you belong in bikini. And so I stuck with bikini. I forgot what we were talking about, like what the question was.
No, continue. I'd love to hear.
And so,
I mean, walk us through this road to pro. Like, walk us through all these,
okay,
experiences.
So after the Adela, I was broke, and I knew I had to go back and finish school, and I had to go back and continue establishing myself as a trainer. And so I kept doing that. I was doing good in school. I did well the following semester, but something was kind of tugging at me, like, you need to get back on the stage. You need to get back on the stage. And I just kept saying, like, telling myself, no, I need to focus. I have priorities. But like, I would dream about it. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about the stage. And I would see my friends posting, like, going to nationals, this was my package, and just like looking amazing. And I had kind of gotten out of touch with Dave. Going to work out with him and the team was like stepping on the set of a movie. Like, it was so intense, and he was just such a character. Like, this big, huge guy walking into the gym. It was called House of Games.
Oh, yeah.
And all these girls, like, super shredded year round, like, incredible athletes. And there was just always some drama going on, like some like crazy story in each of their lives. And it was just it was almost intimidating. And I stepped away from that. I stopped going because, first of all, it was way too far away. It was in Georgetown, like 45 minutes away from Austin. And I just didn't have the time to make that commitment. So we drifted apart. Lauren moved to Dallas, and we drifted apart too. And so I was just kind of in this funk, like, oh, my whole world is just falling apart. I don't have any connection to bodybuilding anymore. I'm just gonna fall off, and maybe I won't ever get back on stage. But something in me told me, just keep working. Just keep practicing what Lauren and Dave and everybody taught you with SickMade. Follow the diet. Just keep doing your research. Keep lifting heavy and getting stronger in all your lifts. And who knows, like, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land in the stars. And so that's what I did. That's what I just kept working hard. And again, the depression started creeping up on me, and it got to the point where I was contemplating jumping off a roof. Like, I was literally so just dreading life that I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to break. I need to sign up for a show right now. I need to do something drastic because I need to do something for me. I need to Like, it's not enough to just go to the gym and work out. I need to do something that's gonna help me reach my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling Lauren, oh my God, I need to do a show. I need to get in touch with a coach. I need to do something. And by that time, Lauren had stopped training with Dave for her personal reasons. And she told me, you should check out this coach and this other coach and this one, and message all of them and see which one fits better with you. So I messaged everyone. I'm not going to tell you who else.
Damn, I was
I
just
want to
about to
get like,
ask you. You know,
yeah,
I
well,
was hungry to know.
I mean, it's not anything personal. It's just that Ryan was the most responsive, like right away. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't send me an automated message. He didn't send me like a little spiel like that he just copies and pastes. He
Mm-hmm.
said, like, he was very straight up. He said, let's do this. So you want to work with me? Send me some check-in photos and let's see what you got. So I was like, all right, let's do this. So I grabbed or Laura, one of the girls at the cafe. I was like, hey, Lau, can you help me take some check-in photos? And we went in the bathroom. I stripped, we took photos, and I sent them to Ryan. And Ryan said, hey, I can get you ready in 2.5 weeks. Team Universe. Are you down? And I was like, wait, what? I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, that to me was already winning. I was like, no way. There's no possible way you're going to get me ready for a national show in 2 weeks, when not even my regional prep was 2 weeks. My regional prep was at least 8 weeks. And girls, they worked for 6 months plus
Mm-hmm.
to get ready for something like this. How is this is so crazy, but I'm pretty crazy. Let's do it. So that's what I told Ryan. And then Ryan said, all right, well, are you sure? You need to tell me by tonight. And I was
I
like, yeah,
love
I'm
it.
sure.
He's
I'm
so
sure.
ready
Let's
to
do
work.
it. Oh yeah. He's so ready. And he's very, very straight up. He's not going to tell you, I can see you winning. Like, he will tell you exactly how he feels. Another thing I really liked about Ryan is that he will believe in you, like, more than you even believe in yourself. And that's something I've heard his competitors say over and over again. Just he's a lot of it is, the coaching and getting you ready for the show. But another huge aspect of training with him, being on Team Legacy, is the emotional support and the mindset coaching. That's when I knew, like, when he showed me how willing he was to help me grow, not just as an athlete but also mentally. I said, you're going to be my coach forever. I'm not going to let you go. And so I
What did that look
luckily
like when you say like he would help you grow mentally? What did that look like for you?
so I was very surprised when he sent me on my plan. You need to, eat your chicken and your tilapia, blah, blah, blah. And then also read the book, The Four Agreements,
The
and listen to the video. Dwayne, wait, what was his name? Wayne
Rock?
Dwyer. No,
Oh,
no, no, no,
oh,
no. But
yes, Dwayne
yeah,
Dyer or
yes, yes,
Wayne
yes.
Dyer.
So,
I
yes,
always
yes.
forget his name too, but yes,
Yeah. So, you
I
know what
know
I'm
what you're
talking about.
talking about. He actually mentioned that too on the show. He's like, I think he talked about that.
Really? Well, he told me to, work on my mindset, and that's going to be one of the biggest things. You need to have the mindset and
Good.
act like the champion on stage, because it will show. And yeah, so he gave me that homework and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, just when I finally got to meet him in New Jersey for the first time, it was like instant connection. Like, we were meant to work together.
How
It's
so?
just, I felt like we were on the same page in a lot of different ways. Like, he didn't show off, for one. Like, he didn't say, oh, I have all of these pro cards and I'm so awesome and I can get you results, and just look. Like, no, like, he's one of the most humble people I've ever met. His results speak for him, and he doesn't trash talk anybody. He
Mm-hmm.
instead he speaks highly of others. He, he's not that kind of coach that's gonna have, rumors that he was, with different clients and, like dirty stuff like that. So I really respected that about him. And just, yeah, the way he made me feel was the most important. He made me feel like I could win, like I could actually win. And that said a lot to me about his coaching style.
Mm-hmm. Having someone who believes in you and also encourages you to believe in yourself goes
Oh, yeah.
a really long way. And
Mm-hmm.
you ended up competing on 3 national stages. And I know at
Mm-hmm.
USA's you came really close, um,
Yeah.
but fell short. And so I'd love if you could talk to us about each of those experiences and maybe how that positive influence of having a coach you connected with made a difference in that experience or in that road to pro.
Mm-hmm. So at the first show, the night before the show, we went to go do check-ins with coach. And I was talking to him for that after check-ins, and he told me, he calls me Allie. Allie, I have this jacket and I want you to just put your arms out, okay? Just put your arms out. And I was like, all right. And so I put my arms out, and he puts the jacket on me, right? And it's this super pretty, slim fit Nike jacket. And I'm like, oh, nice. This is so cute. It says Team Legacy on it. And then he's like, oh, turn around. And I turn around and it says IFBB Pro. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what? No way. No, I got ready for this in 2 weeks. There's no way I'm going to be a pro. And he's like, well, with that mentality, you won't, or like he said something like that. And I was like, all right, well, this guy clearly believes in me. I must deserve to be here. So let's go win. And so the next day at the Universe, my first mistake was looking at the crowd, like not looking at the judges. And I got so intimidated, and I could just feel the nervous energy of the other girls around me. And I picked that up and I started freaking out. I was like, I didn't think this was going to happen, but I'm freaking nervous. And oh my God, is that Tyler Mannion over there? And what's her name?
Sandy?
Sandy. Oh my God, what the fuck? And so I was super nervous and I started shaking. But once I stepped on stage, I was like, all right, performer time. And I did some airs, like not bringing my, the arm that you put up on your hip. I didn't twist hard enough. I
Mm-hmm.
lost my X frame, but somehow I ended in the center stage of first call outs. And I was like, what the hell? And I could just hear Ryan, perfect, Allie, perfect. And that's another thing that I like about Ryan. He'll be like the mean girl's mom, like, let's go, honey, yes, all the way from the crowd. And
Mm.
so I could just hear him, and I'm like, all right, yeah, let's win. And when I got off stage, I knew, like, they moved me like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, all right, it's gonna be either second or third. There's no way I can be first. And so second and third win pro cards at Universe. I ended up being third, which I was super happy about. Like, I came into this with no expectations, of course, wanting to win, but not expecting it.
Right.
And I was just so happy to have gotten ready in 2 weeks. I was also, so my real win of Universe was meeting J.M. Mannion in person
Mm-hmm.
and Miss Bikini Olympia, Angelica Tashira. It was incredible. It was like, so after the show, after finals, after the overall and everything, I saw J.M. Mannion and Angelica, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm super nervous, but I'm just gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I just ran up to them, and I was like, JM, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to meet you. This is so crazy. I just want to shake your hand. And he's all like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, you look great. Let's take a picture.
Mm.
And where are you from? And I was like, I'm from Austin, Texas. And he's like, oh wow, oh my gosh, my nephew, I think it's his nephew, he lives in Austin. I'm there all the time. We should maybe schedule a shoot or something. And I'm like, that would be amazing. What does your nephew do? And he's like, he's on the set of The Walking Dead. And this is crazy, but so at the Gold Gym on 6th Street where I was still working, or no, I was already working at a new gym, at my dream gym, when I went after my national show, my pursuit of the pro card. So I was at Lifetime, and I was working with one of the directors from the show The Walking Dead. So we had that connection, like, oh my God, you know someone from The Walking Dead, I know someone from The Walking Dead. And we just got along so well. And then I see Angelica, and I'm like, oh my God. So I run after Angelica, and I'm like, Angelica. And like, I had been following this girl for years leading up to this moment, like seeing her post and just seeing how she had this crazy loyal fan base and just people that loved her so dearly. It made me question, like, what is it about Angelica, the person, that people love so much? So I ran up to Angelica and I was like, oh my God, Angelica, I'm so happy to meet you. And her reaction to me was, wow, you are so beautiful. You are like a doll. And I couldn't believe it. I was in such shock that I started crying.
Aww.
I started crying tears of happiness. Like, this girl that I idolize, like, you know how they say, kill your heroes because they'll let you down? This wasn't the case. Like, she is the most genuine, down to earth bikini competitor that I will probably ever know. And she's not just like that to bikini competitors and judges and people, you know, like on the stage. I even saw her having a full-on conversation with one of the door guys that was just like there, you know, chilling. And she was there, she was just like being the perfect role model and ambassador of the sport. And I, like, ever since that, I fell in love with Angelica. And I always like give her shout outs and post on her page, and she gives me shout outs and stuff like that. So we're like homies now.
Aww.
And yeah, it's so crazy. And that was my real win of universe. Meeting Jay Mannion, well, meeting Ryan Hinton, of course, for the first time, making a splash on the national stage, and then meeting Angelica. It was just freaking crazy. And oh, of course, the 3rd place win. That was nice.
Oh yeah.
So universe, yeah. And all of this in 2 weeks. Like, my whole life changed from like wanting to jump off the roof of the building. And like, seriously, I mean that. Like, I was so freaking depressed and didn't want to, like, I contemplated life because, well, I learned after this that if you don't chase your dreams, it will cost you your life. It will make you so unhappy that life is not worth living. So you have to chase your dreams always, no matter what. Like, your life depends on it, because it does. And so after that 3rd place win, I was like, all right, let's go to the next one. And I didn't even like check my bank account, or like, I didn't check, oh, you know, you need a budget for these things. It's going to be very expensive very quickly. You need to have the permission of your bosses. You need to, you know, make sure your life is settled and don't cancel any plans and stuff like that, right? I didn't know any of that. I was just like, let's go to the next one. Let's go. And so I signed up for the next show, but I had plans to, you know, dedicate myself fully to my job following that show. You know, the show takes a lot from you. It's not just the physical, but it takes all of your mental focus.
Right.
It's hard to be a full-time trainer and training, you know, 40 sessions per week, which is very intense, especially if, you know, you're skin and bones and you barely have energy to even form a conversation. So I kind of didn't consider that. And I didn't consider the physical toll that the next prep would bring. You know, back-to-back shows is pretty intense. And so this next show, the USA's, was in Vegas. It was going to be relatively cheap. You know, there's a direct flight and all that. And so I didn't really think much about it. So I just signed up. And the thing was, one of the things, with my boyfriend, we had planned on going on a vacation for his cousin's wedding. And I was like, should I, go reach for my dreams and get the pro card and, at the end of the day, make everyone proud? Or should I give up on my dream? Who knows if I'll make it to the stage again anytime soon, because you don't know what can happen. You never know what's going to happen. And should I cancel the wedding? Should I go to the wedding? What do I do? So no one really convinced me or told me what to do. I just said, I'm going to go after my dreams. And I hope and pray that my boyfriend understands. We had been planning for this wedding for over a year. And so to me, the dream was priceless. To me, the dream was worth more than any vacation. And I said, well, wish me luck. I'm going to go. I hope you forgive me. And, my boyfriend was very, very upset. We almost broke up over this, but I kept telling myself, once I bring home that pro card, it's going to be all worth it. And he's going to be so proud of me and everything's going to be fine again. And, like, my bosses will understand this is a huge deal. Like, people don't just, it's very difficult to win a pro card. And I came so close. I know they'll understand. And so I didn't really ask anyone for permission. I didn't check with anyone. I just signed up. And one day, in the midst of the second prep, I slept through my alarm clock. And I showed up to my shift late. And at the end of that shift, this was at my dream gym, okay? Like, fanciest gym in town, probably best gym in town at this point. The Lifetime on, it's downtown Austin. So I showed up late. I trained some of my clients. Everything was good. I wasn't late for any of my clients. But at the end of the shift, it was like 9 p.m. My boss surprised me at work. And he said, oh, hey, Alejandra, can you step into my office, please? And I was like, it's weird seeing you here this late, but okay, let's go. And so he sits me down with the assistant manager, and he pulled in a woman, or like one of the housekeeping staff that was female. And I thought it was so random. And I was like, what's going on? And he said, well, we've decided to terminate you. It was like 10 days before my show. Okay. He's like, we've decided to terminate you. We wish you the best in your competition. But you cannot work with us anymore. You were late. And I was just in such shock. Like, I couldn't even formulate a sentence. Like, I was it was the end of the day. I had just trained, like, I don't know, 4 sessions. I was drained. I was ready for my next meal. And he just said, you're out. You're fired. And I was like, are you sure? Is this for real? Is this a dream? Is there anything I can do, please? And he was just like, nope, I don't want to hear it. I'm tired. I don't want to hear it. You're gone. It was so cold-blooded. And I was just like, what am I going to tell Matt? Oh my God, this is the last thing that he needs to hear, that I lost my job and that I'm not going to go to the wedding, and like, my whole life is over. Okay. And that's what I was the most afraid of, Matt's reaction. Right. So I freaked out for a little second, and then I was like, all right, let's go home. Let's tell Matt. And so I went home. I told Matt. He didn't cry or anything like I was. He was just like, all right, here's the game plan. You're going to beg for your job back tomorrow. You're going to go to this other gym. You're going to apply here. You're going to tell them to please take you back and do this. And I was like, okay, Matt, okay. And he's like, write a letter to HR, and like just telling me like step by step what I should do, plan of action. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So the next day I went to a different club, which was also a Lifetime. And I told them my life story. I was like, listen, I just got fired from downtown, but I need you to revoke that termination and just transfer me to this gym, because I promise you I'm the best trainer you'll ever have. No one will ever beat my passion. You have to take me back, please. And like by the end of my whole little story that I told the manager there, like he was like with his jaw on the floor. He's like, oh my God, you're hired.
Wow.
And so they transferred me to a different gym. I still had a job. I could still chase my dream. And he even said, go do your show and then come back. That'll be your first day after your show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh shit, oh my God. And then it was peak week before I knew it. So I was broke. I had lost my dream job at my dream gym, which where my boyfriend also worked. So he was at the downtown club as well. And the light at the end of the tunnel was winning at USA's, and everything was going to be worth it. And I could finally breathe and focus on my things and have my life back, and all of these things that I had taken for granted. And the whole time my boyfriend was really mad at me for canceling plans. And I mean, I tried to not stress out. And I just gave every last ounce of effort that I had into this prep for USA's. And so I ended up going to USA's. It was a 2-day show. I ended up again center, first call outs, and I was in the battle of my life with this girl, Lauren Adams, who
Mm-hmm.
ended up winning first place at USA's. But so Ryan, again, he was in the crowd and he's like, perfect, Allie, yes. And so I'm like, yes, it's going to go good. Coach was there. Jasmine was there, my posing coach. I even shared rooms with Jazzy, which was like such a fun experience. And she was telling me, you did so good. Like when I got off stage, I was like, how did I do? How did I do? And they're like, you were in center. You were in center. You're going to win. You're either first or second. You're going to win. You're a pro. You're going to be such a good pro. And I was like, I started crying again. Yeah, I cry a lot, but I started crying again. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm going to be a pro. And they're like, yes. And so the whole day I'm celebrating and dancing, like, yeah, I was in center, woohoo. And everyone's so excited for me on Instagram. And, we're like, yeah, center stage. It means a lot. So the next day at
No.
finals, when they're calling the numbers or the places and stuff, I was just thinking it could be third. Who knows? It can be second. Who knows? Just whatever it is, I'm ready. And they're like, third place, Alejandra Ballesteros. And I'm like, I've never felt like crying after a show, considering, I didn't ever have expectations, or like I've always had a state of gratitude and I've been happy with my placing and where I've ended up. But at this show, considering everything I sacrificed, everything that I thought would be worth it to sacrifice, it bit me in the ass. And I ended up finding out that I lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
I lost by 1 stinking point. And to me, that was karma. To me, that was God telling me, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have canceled plans with your boyfriend. You should have stuck with your job. You should have taken things, like really prepared for your next show, not just rush into it, and never expect, just because you got center stage doesn't mean anything. You could always end up getting third place. Even if you're in center stage sharing with first place, it doesn't mean anything. And so that was one of the toughest lessons that even Ryan learned that day, because that had never happened in his career. A girl that ends up in center and doesn't win the pro card. That was a lesson for all of us, and even my boyfriend. And so I ended up, going back home, telling everyone like, yeah, I didn't win. It's okay. I'll just go to the next one. We just get back up like a champion. And so I, by that time I was broke. And I mean, like, I was having to scrape up pennies from in between the couch. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
had no money whatsoever. I blew it all on the shows.
Were you
And
living
I
with
was
your
starting,
boyfriend?
yes, this
Mm-hmm.
whole time. So since I met my boyfriend, we've lived together. Like, it was pretty much like love at first date or whatever. And so things escalated very quickly. And I moved in with him pretty quickly. But it was like both of us knew we'd be together for a long time. So, I mean, it's been wonderful. Uh, Not perfect. And yes, there's a lot of fights, but that's normal with any couple. Um, but yeah, so I was living with him still, thankfully, because I would have been homeless. I would have had to, I don't know, I would like, I'm so thankful that I've had Matt throughout this whole journey. And so I was with Matt. I was starting up on my new job, which was so different. And it was difficult to just be there because, given the circumstances in which I came to that gym, like, oh, hey guys, I just got fired from the other gym and I had to transfer here. So, hi. Like, it was awkward. And it was a lot of like getting back up and having to prove myself all over again and showing them what I'm made of. And like, this bodybuilder, who does she think she is? She's probably full of herself. Oh my God, no one likes her. Like, that's kind of how it was at that gym, at least in my perspective. It might have not been like that because I'm paranoid, but from
Mm-hmm.
from what I experienced, I just felt like I couldn't fit in no matter how hard I tried. And I mean, I just kept working hard and staying focused. And I had to tell, when I was getting hired there, I told the manager, no more shows. I promise no more shows. I'm ready for business. I'm ready for, to make you guys proud. And I had to go back and tell him, Lance, listen up. Just one more show, please. Please. And he's like, okay, look, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you to do a show or not do a show. Just make sure you can focus on work still and show up on time and meet numbers and make your clients happy. And that's all that matters. Like, very supportive. And I was like, all right. So I ended up having to start a GoFundMe, or one of my friend Ana Lozano, who is also trying to get her pro card right now. And I know she will very soon. She got third place at nationals this last show in Miami. She started a GoFundMe for me so that I can do North Americans, because, well, she was my very first gym buddy that I ever had back in Laredo when we were both 15 and got gym memberships. Like, we would work out together, and it's crazy seeing each other now. And so she was very supportive, and we raised some money, and I made it to freaking North Americans. And I made it to Pittsburgh. I mean, I was struggling. Like, I remember getting to Pittsburgh and just being so depleted, and my body was just so tired of all the dieting that, like, when I got to the hotel, I curled up in a little ball and I just freaking had a panic attack, mixed with anxiety, mixed with just tears. And like, I don't remember how to think or how to use my brain, or I just feel so tired. And like, I was just having so much doubt, and like, I've made it this far, but I can't just get this far just to make it this far. Like, I need to keep going. I need to win. I need to come and collect what I came here for, which is the pro card. Let's do this. And so the show was very relaxed. It was just a 1-day show. I had my posing routine down. I had all of the details. I had all the criticism that I needed. I knew exactly what I had to do. And from the last show from Vegas, Sandy told me, like, I emailed her right away, like the next day after I got off stage in Vegas, and I asked her, what did I do? Please tell me what I have to do to come in with exactly what you want. And she said, there's nothing you didn't have. You might have been a little too conditioned, but if you just come with the same package that you brought in Vegas, you'll be fine. You'll have that physique that we're looking for. Best of luck. That's all she said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just bring the same package and cross your fingers, because that's the way it is. So I did that. I brought, well, pretty much the same package. It was a little bit more soft. Um, Not on purpose. My body just kind of went soft for a bit there. And I mean, that's just kind of how it happens. Your body, sometimes it needs rest, and it'll tell you. And so that day was just kind of like my breaking point. My body was telling me, like, just make this the last day, and that's it for a while. No more shows. And so I got back up. I got on stage. I did my thing. And I just felt, when I was walking on that stage, I felt like there were two angels walking on my side. Like, that's what I visualized when I was walking out on stage. And it worked, because I could just see Gary Udit and Sandy and what's his name, Tyler Mannion, like smiling and like looking at me like, yes. And I even read one of their lips saying, she came in softer. And like, they just looked so happy to see me, like, you made it again. And like,
Mm.
I was just like so happy to be there, and I enjoyed the experience. I think that's really how this show was different. I just felt like I was meant to be there. Like, this was my time. I was just so certain of it, and nothing could, like, after that little moment of doubt that I had at the hotel in Pittsburgh, I was like, no, this is. So here's the thing. When I met J.M. Mannion, this is pretty crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
J.M. Mannion, when I met him, he told me, you know what show you should do? Like, yeah, you got third at Universe, but you know what show you should do? The one in Pittsburgh, North Americans. You'll win that one. And I was like, wait, how would you even possibly know that? You just met me. And he's like, just listen, just do North Americans. I'm telling you, do North Americans. And I was like, okay, I'll try. And then when we were all talking, me, JM, and Angelica, we were all talking. JM was like, hey, Angelica, right? She should do North Americans. And Angelica looks at me and she's like, North Americans, yes. And they're both in agreement that I should do North Americans. So I was just like, well, if they told me to do North Americans, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to feel good about it. And that's how, like, I don't know, I just kind of knew at North Americans that this was my time. And sure enough, I won my pro card, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and I so appreciate you
Wow.
walking us through that, because I mean, like, there's so many different parts to it, and I just thought it was really
Yeah.
cool and a great representation of dedication and commitment to the dream. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if, in retrospect now, if you
Mm-hmm.
see why they would have said do North Americans, do you think it was a specific look you had?
Maybe. I mean, because I'm half Mexican and I'm half American, Mexican on my mom's side and American on my dad's side. So maybe because I had a combination of looks, or mm, I don't know. I also thought, like, I've been thinking about, like, a lot about this, like, why would they say that? But also, Pittsburgh is JM's stomping grounds. Like,
Mm.
that's his favorite city, obviously, right? Because he lives there in Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania with his family. So maybe that's why he would be biased towards that show. I don't know. I think it's because I have a mixture of looks, and maybe he was thinking, you have that, like, Mexican slash, that North American look, maybe.
Right. I
I
was curious about that, because some of the national shows, like, people are strategic with which ones they choose based on historical winners.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if it might have had something to do with that. And now, you're prepping for your pro debut. So what was
Yeah.
the feedback you got after that show? And now what are you focused on? When are you hoping to step on stage if, everything goes well with the current situation.
Well, to be honest, I haven't asked for feedback after North Americans because I mean, I just kind of I procrastinate on a lot of things and I honestly have just forgotten to email them. But I feel like I'm just going to bring my best. I'm going to try to emulate everything that I've seen in the, the big stages like the Arnold, the Olympia, and all of those big pro shows. And I mean, I'm going to show them the best that I have since they just told me to come with the same package to the next show and like work with that critique and just kind of work there because I know that the pro stage is just very different from the national and just it's a whole different ball game. But that's a good. I'm gonna email them. Maybe I can. There's not much I can change right now, and it's all just kind of been in the air lately. Like I was planning on doing my debut in October, and then I had to move that because I broke my wrist, and then I had to move it back to March, and then to now. So it's been a lot of uncertainty and not really knowing when I'll be ready or
And have you
yeah,
been working with Ryan throughout this whole process?
Oh yeah. Well, not like prep or anything. Like since I'm a trainer, I can coach myself through the off seasons, which is a lot easier on me. And it's also pretty fun to experiment on my own and see, like this works and this is what I'll use on my clients. Like now that I know that this works on my body. Um, but we do stay in touch. We do like he'll check up on me all the time and say like how you doing, how when's can you be ready to get ready next month, or like he'll just kind of like hint at me like we're gonna do a show a month from now, or like he'll just yeah, we stay in touch, but we don't stay on prep all year long. Like he'll just get me ready for the show and he helps me stay focused and stay motivated during the off season.
And during your off season when you're training, I notice you like to do a lot of like heavy lifting and compound movements.
Yes.
So, how
Yes.
has that contributed to your success on stage?
Well, because I have a naturally small frame, it's very hard for me to put on muscle doing really high volume, um, energy consuming exercises like sets of 20, 15, and stuff like that. So for me, what I've noticed over the years that works the best to grow my posterior chain or the glutes, the hamstrings, is the heavy compound lifts. And I've noticed that as long as you progress in your main exercises, the low bar squat, the conventional deadlift, even the hip thruster, which is, I wouldn't say it's a traditional strength training exercise, but it's definitely a staple in my regimen. As long as I keep building in those areas, everything else that I do will be that much more effective as well.
Mm.
It's just so critical. Like, and strength training isn't just for the gains, it's to overcome yourself and to build your mind and get that Wonder Woman feeling after the lift. Like, yes, I just deadlifted 300 pounds, or I squatted a new PR 225, and like stuff like that is just so, it's a win. Like,
Mm-hmm.
getting PRs in the gym is unlike any feeling. I highly recommend it.
I
Yeah.
love it. And do you continue that in your prep as well?
Yes, I've continued lifting heavy, um, particularly in my hip thrusts and deadlifts, not so much on the squat, just
Mm-hmm.
because even though I do a different style of squatting called the low bar, which in the low bar position, it targets your glutes and your hamstrings a lot more than high bar squats or hack squats or anything like that. Um, the low bar does kind of develop the quads a little bit, so I've steered off of those and I've focused more on the hip thrust and just everything I can do with the barbell, because that's been my my savior, the barbell during this quarantine.
I love it. And if you could only pick one exercise to do for the rest of your life for
Mhm.
shoulders, glutes, and hamstrings, what would you pick for each of those?
For each, okay, for shoulders, barbell overhead press. Uh, for hamstrings, I would do, uh, damn. Uh, okay, for hamstrings, I do conventional deadlifts. And for glutes, barbell hip thrust. So barbells across the board.
I love it. That's awesome. I love that you do that. And I like that you bring that. I like that you're sharing that anyways, because I think sometimes there's this
Yes.
misconception that like bikini girls can't do that or shouldn't do that or whatever.
No.
It's
Oh my
like,
God, no.
yeah, definitely
I've
not.
had so I coaches in the past, and I've just heard like in the bodybuilding world that lifting heavy weights will make your waist bigger, but that's just not true. It's absolute it's an absolute fallacy because your waistline is genetic, and the best way to develop your muscles is with progressive overload or the consistent adaptation of heavier barbells every day.
Hmm.
That's really like I've seen it over and over and over again. Training with barbells and maintaining progressive overload is what makes the body of a champion.
Mm,
Yep.
I love that. I believe I was speaking with sometimes I forget who I was talking to about this, but want to say it was Jordan, and we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about how she likes to lift heavy, and there's been other girls on here too who talk
Mm-hmm.
about that who have powerlifting backgrounds. I believe Kasha
Mm-hmm.
was one of those people too, and um,
Oh.
all these girls who talk about that on this show, and even the ones who don't train that way, but like incredible physiques, muscle development happened a lot faster, it seemed, or
Mm-hmm.
there was more maintenance of that muscle, it appeared, going into prep. So I think, based on what people share, that definitely, I mean, it adds up, first of all, and second of all, like, it doesn't mean you're becoming some, like, I think people have these connotations or associations between what certain types of training looks like on a body as well as how it ends up
Mm-hmm.
manifesting. But at the end of the day, like, you're still keeping in mind the shape that the judges are looking for, the criteria of the sport. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
you notice your waist was, for whatever reason, starting to get bigger and developing, and your obliques were, let's say, popping a little
Mm-hmm.
too much, okay, where do I need to back
Mm-hmm.
off? But for the most
Yeah.
part, if you're engaging the right muscles, you're using the right form, and you're mindful of those things, and it is progressive, probably not gonna have a problem. If anything,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it makes you train
Yeah,
better in every other like, if
for
you can
sure.
overhead press a lot, imagine when you're actually doing like an Arnold press, or you're doing like lateral
Yes.
raises, you're gonna lift
Yes,
heavier.
it transfers into everything else. That strength that you build in those 5 or 3 or even single rep with the barbell, it's going to make those 15 rep sets with the lateral raises a lot more effective. And, all of the other rep schemes as well. It's really mind blowing. But of course, form is the most important, and you don't want to go lift super heavy without bracing properly or without perfect technique because you will get injured. So,
Mm-hmm.
always wear a weightlifting belt. Get some squat shoes, ideally for your squats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and always, yeah, just practice good form and record yourself and hire a trainer because it really pays off for the rest of your life.
Yes, work with like a power lifter or a weightlifter. Work with
Mm-hmm.
someone who does that, and make sure
Yeah.
you learn from multiple sources, because you got, there's different types of powerlifting leagues, there's different types of strength training leagues, and so
Mm-hmm.
you got to be mindful of what kind of league they're in. But those are the things to consider, and um,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely makes a big difference. My boyfriend's, well, he used to do powerlifting, and
Oh,
um,
cool.
yeah, so I got to, like, it was nice to have his help and support in that, and those things definitely translate as well. You just become more mindful, and Honestly, most of my off season, like I was eating a lot and then I was just lifting heavy compound movements. Like
That's the best.
yes, it is the best
way to gain.
Yes. And like I still did, my fun stuff like kickbacks and my lateral raises, front raise. I still did all that stuff. But it was like after I did my hip thrusts, after I did the overhead presses or heavy dumbbell press, like
that's what I do too. Yeah, start heavy and then get all of your little accessory stuff later.
Yes,
but always get the important shit done first. Give it all you got first thing when you get to the gym, because it's the most complex and the most taxing on your body, and then do all the lighter stuff.
That's how you're gonna actually have progressive overload.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta lift heavy weights, like Ronnie Coleman says.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. I recently was listening to his episode on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Actually. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard it yet. I saw that and I've been meaning to listen. I saw his documentary. Did you see it?
I did. I think he's
so good.
Yeah. What I love about him is he doesn't let what other people say about his decisions determine how he feels about his decisions. And
for real.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, people judge him for what he did and judge him for where he's at now. And he's like, he's never once been like, I should not have done that. And that's what I really respect, is it was like, not that he hasn't learned. I'm sure he's learned things from it. But I mean, I love that he's just like true to himself. And I think, like you said earlier, like, you prayed to have the strength to not care what people think and then to go after your dreams. And you face those setbacks and then you faced adversity and you face these things, and then now you look back on everything and it all makes sense. And I bet you're going to continue to feel that way when you look back and go, it still makes sense, even if there were things maybe other people think I shouldn't have done or they wouldn't have done. That made sense.
Yeah. And that's another important thing that I didn't really talk about. I don't really regret anything. I mean, I've definitely, the only thing I do regret from all of this is skipping the wedding and not like missing out on those precious memories that I'll never get again with my boyfriend. That's what I do regret. But at the same time, when I won the pro card, and I think that's how you and I got connected, and you were like, oh, you should come on the podcast after I gave you that little short essay on your post. I said, when I won the pro card, I felt it wasn't what I thought it would be. I felt nothing. It wasn't like people were like rushing up to me to get my autograph and, sponsorship deals left and right and like, oh my God, we love you. Like, no, none of that happens. But what I really won, like, yes, the pro card, but it was the person that I became.
Yes.
And the person that I proved myself to be to myself. And that was my prize. And that's what bodybuilding does for you. It's what you become, not the trophy.
That's right. I could not agree more, honestly. Like, and by the way, what you said about regretting the wedding and regretting all that, like, I totally understand where you're coming from and why you'd feel that way. And I also see the other side of that and go, but imagine if she had gone and didn't learn that lesson. What other opportunities might you have missed out on?
Yeah, I won a huge life lesson. For sure. Like, center stage doesn't mean anything. You could lose by 1 point, so don't sacrifice your entire life and your whole livelihood and your job, and like that's not really worth it. But at the same time, if you lose, you learn a lesson, and that's priceless.
That's true. Always find the lessons and allow them to empower your growth moving forward. Like, not letting history repeat itself, because
that's important.
It's like let's think about this, let's be mindful, and that's what you've done. And you've shared so many amazing things, so many parts of your story that I've just appreciated and loved listening to, and talking
Thank
to you.
you.
Yeah, I love that. I love this. I love talking to you. I think you're awesome, and I feel like we could
Oh,
talk like honestly all
I
day.
know, right? I know.
Yes, I'm so fascinated by you, and I just think you're so
Aw.
genuine, and everything you've shared has been really insightful. And I got to ask you now, like, if you have
Mm-hmm.
any advice you would give to someone
Mm-hmm.
who's never competed before but wants to, and then your best
Mm-hmm.
advice for another girl who's on her road to pro.
Oh my gosh, I knew you were gonna ask this, and I've been thinking so hard. And I even said I'll write a list, and but I want it to sound organic. Like,
Right.
I don't want it to sound rehearsed. So for
I
someone
appreciate
that's
that.
never for someone that's never competed before, you need to go into this with a very strong why. Like, don't do it to prove others wrong. Do it to prove yourself right for whatever reason you may have. Um, and second of all, you need to want to win. Like, a lot of people won't tell you you need to win, like you need to go into this to win, but I'll tell you that, and here's why. Because shit's gonna get hard. It's gonna get like, you're gonna be hungry, you're gonna dream about food, you're gonna, like, people are gonna try to talk you out of it, your close friends, your boyfriend, your teacher, like everyone's gonna tell you, even with good intentions, don't do it, it's dangerous, it's crazy. But the thing that's going to drive you to stick with it and listen to your coach and follow the diet to the T is wanting to win. Like, overall, you like go into it wanting to win. Don't expect it ever. Always be grateful with whatever place you get. Always. Uh, always keep a checklist of the things that you've learned along the way, like pack light, make sure your number is showing, and like little details like that that you've learned. And do that for every single show that you do afterward, especially at your national shows.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, don't listen to anybody. Don't let anyone talk you out of chasing your dreams, because oftentimes it's because whoever's you're talking to at that moment gave up on their dreams. And that's just the way it happens. They don't think, like, they might have good intentions, or who knows. Always question them, of course. Question people's intentions before you take their advice, and make sure that they've accomplished the results that you're after before taking anyone's advice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would tell a first time competitor. And also hire a opposing coach and start early. Like, start 6 months in advance. Visualize yourself winning. Put time into your training. Put time into learning about the sport and the criteria. Get your posing down. Record yourself over and over, even if it feels weird at first. That's the best way to learn how to pose. Just hiring someone and recording yourself. And yeah, just have fun when it's show day, and take lots of pictures. Lots and lots of pictures. Get the photo package. Even if you
Yes,
regret it
definitely.
later, get the photo package. Your first show is only one time in your life, and this is where you'll find out if you love it. So just do it. Even if you're hesitating, you'll never know if it's your passion until you do your first show.
Yeah.
That's where I fell in love with bodybuilding. And to someone that's preparing for the pro stage, don't sacrifice your whole life to get on the national stage, my bad. Someone that's preparing for the national to get their pro card, don't sacrifice your whole life. Uh, Plan things out, make a budget, set aside, like, I'd say a good number for a national show is about $3,000. Make sure you have double that in your bank account before you jump into a show so that you don't go broke.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a budget. Invest in a good tan. Uh, One thing that I learned the hard way is, don't start tanning 2 weeks before your show, because you'll start to peel the day of the show.
Yeah.
Start tanning a month in advance, and stop tanning at least 2 weeks out. Like, give your skin time to recover, and never tan your face. If you're stepping into a booth or going into the sun, always wear sunscreen on your face. Get one of those protective towels for your face, because you're gonna look chocolatey orange when they do your makeup and they try to match everything together. I looked a little
I
bit
love that
too
chocolatey
tan.
orange.
Yeah, at USA's I looked chocolatey orange. And what else? Think of yourself as a performer. Think of yourself as, when you get nervous, like, yes, it's going to get very shaky. Like, you're going to start to maybe hyperventilate a little bit, like I did at my first national. But always just breathe and remember that you're not nervous. You're just excited.
Love
That's
that.
all. Yeah. And don't give up. If it takes you 5 years, it'll take you 5 years. But remember, it's not even the pro card. Like, you're not gonna get a crowd of people like crying for, like, oh, I love you, yes, oh my god. Like, it's gonna be the person that you become when you earn that pro card. That's gonna be the real prize.
Right.
And how many pictures and friendships you have to show for it.
I love that.
That's it.
That is all amazing advice. And I know that there's people listening who are like, I didn't think about that yet, or I haven't thought about that yet. So I appreciate you sharing all of that and sharing from your experience too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank
you.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you for your time and chatting with me and finding me on Instagram and giving me a shot at this, because, oh my gosh, this is like the highlight of quarantine. Maybe, like, this has been such a dream of mine to be on this. It's so crazy.
My God, that makes me,
For
like I
real.
said before, that makes me go like, what the hell? Like, I love that, and that's like so empowering and inspiring for me. It's like confirmation that what I'm doing is inspiring others. Like, I've had girls come on and be like, dude, I've been dreaming about being on this show since before I got my pro card. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Seriously.
But that means so much to me. Like, it puts a smile on my face, because I'm like, dang, I just started this to, bring something amazing to competitors, and I've gotten so much more out of it. Like, I don't know. It's just a really cool community, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your time on here as well.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
So much.
Absolutely. And can you let everybody know really quick where they can connect with you, maybe even work with you, or just reach out to you?
So I'm working on my my website, and I'm still working on my YouTube channel. It's a lot more complicated than I thought. I tried getting a head start before coming on here so I can give everyone the links, but still in progress. But there's one place you can for sure reach me, and that's my Instagram. My handle is alejandra.ifbbpro.
Perfect. And by the way, since this episode will come out later, I'm sure you'll be ready with the links. So what I'll do is I'll check for all your links. I'm going to put them in the show notes page. So for you guys listening, you can connect with her on Instagram. Like she just said, I'm going to have that in the celestial.fit/podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then I'll put the links. So don't even worry about that. And
Thank
if you get them, send them to me. I'll take care of it.
For sure.
So yeah, you guys, thank you so much for listening and joining us. I hope that you got so many golden nuggets out of this. Definitely tag us as you listen, share those takeaways or experiences, or maybe those moments that resonated with you. And if you have never listened to this show, it would mean so much to me, or maybe if you're a longtime listener, please leave a review or give it a 5-star rating, because obviously, I'm just kidding, but it helps listenership. It would mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate that. We want to get a lot more people inspired by the show and listening as well, just as you are, if that's how you feel. So thank you guys so much for being here with us today, spending this time with us, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning.